Thank you for joining us today, everyone. We are here to talk about Title IX and celebrate the 50th anniversary of Title IX. We are joined by Jane Bell, Assistant Professor at Greenville University. Thank you for joining us for our talk today, Jane.
Thanks for having me. I'm enthusiastic about the topic.
Yes, for a little background, for those of you who may not know, Jane, athletics has played a huge role in her life ever since she was a little kid. You know, your grandfather and your father were involved with sports. Can you talk a little bit about growing up in a athletics-centered family? What did that mean for your family, and why was that so important to your family?
Yeah, from an early age, we were big Illini fans. I grew up in Champaign, Illinois. My dad played for the Fighting Illini. He was also a high school state champion at Paris High School as well. And he even played in the Final Four in 1949. My grandfather and my great uncle were also the announcers for basketball and football games. Now, that was before all the lights and the whistles and the bells, and it was a little calmer time. But we grew up going to basketball games, football games. We'd run around the stadium and have a good time. So it was just something that we enjoyed. And then we just did some of the other kind of lifetime sports like swimming and the summer, being on a swim team and golf. So sports was always important to us.
So Title IX came into existence in 1972, right when you were entering high school. What were your immediate thoughts once you heard Title IX was coming into effect?
I think I was a typical mid-teenager that you kind of hear these things going on, but you don't really think about how they'll influence your life. And so it was probably another political thing that was swirling around with the Vietnam War and everything else. So I probably, honestly, Brian, didn't think that much about it.
Right. In that, I assume that's kind of what that was. No one, when something news like that brought into society, no one really kind of knows what to think. So now, given going into college, can you talk about you being a little more involved in Title IX, kind of understanding what that means for you for college athletics and kind of seeing how it's starting to shape women's college athletics?
I was definitely on the crest of that wave. I mean, it pushed me because passed in 72, I was actually on the first high school team that we had for gals in Centennial High School, and that was the track team. And we actually qualified. We won districts in track and actually went to the first state IHSA state meet, which was a
Awesome.
pretty big deal. We were wearing T-shirts that were just like had iron-on letters and our shorts, and we had those high socks with the bands, and who knows what we were wearing for shoes. I mean, now the running shoes are so good. The next year they added volleyball, so I was on volleyball and track, and then senior year they added girls basketball, so I was a three-sport athlete. And let me tell you, to watch high school girls play basketball that had never played before, my dad would sit in the stands like this because we didn't know what we were doing, but we sure had fun.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it gave you that opportunity to kind of
yes,
kind of learn to know what you're doing. So yeah.
learn to know
Yeah.
exactly.
So we've talked about your family growing up with an athletics family. We've talked about you being a student athlete. So after graduation, after college graduation, you spent time coaching and then working in the UVA Virginia Sports Promotion Department. Can you talk about being on the other side? Not being an athlete, but now being on the coaching side and the promotion side. Can you talk about how that kind of impacted the Title IX on that side of things?
Yeah. Um, Being on that crest, just kind of jump back a little bit. I walked on because that's what everybody did to the University of North Carolina's volleyball team. So started 4 years for the Tar Heels, and the first scholarship was given my junior year to someone incoming, and some people may not know it, but the NCAA did not sponsor championships. We were under the AIAW at the time. NCAA started in the 80s once they realized that women's sports was growing up. So then after graduation, I knew I wanted to do sport and business, which is kind of the two things that were my love. And so I went to Ohio University for sport management. And again, just women first starting and getting into that role. And then going to Virginia, I was hired August 1st to coach the team starting August 15th. Okay. Like show up, here's a little office and we have a few uniforms. here's a schedule. Like you had tryouts and yeah, it was, you drive your own bus and basically you do everything yourself. So it was exciting. It was hard work. And it was also challenging. And at the same time, besides being a head coach, I also was doing, as you said, sports promotions, which was the marketing of football events, men's basketball events and things like that. So it was fun to be part of, again, that wave of getting
Sure.
more opportunity, more travel, better uniforms, more pay, more just opportunity for the women. And then of course, we switched in, we started giving scholarships for women, which was exciting.
Right. So we'll kind of follow up with that question there. We've talked about, the iron-on numbers for the jerseys, the non-scholarships at first, not sponsored championships, all that kind of stuff. If you were to sum up kind of the impact that Title IX has had over the last 50 years, what is the main thing that you've seen have the impact on women's sports over that time?
It's just the opportunity and kind of the expectations of the new normal.
Mhm.
I don't know whether or not the women that are competing in the SLAC sports now realize what an awesome opportunity it is for them to be competing. I hope every day they go to practice, they go, wow, this is pretty amazing. And hopefully the men can understand that too. So that's, and it's still ongoing, right?
Mhm.
Equal pay, more viewership. People are discovering that women's sports, of course, to me, volleyball is the most exciting, but more viewership and overall opportunities for women in a lot of areas. Title IX was not just for sport.
Right.
I don't think anyone even knew how it was going to transform sport. I met a woman who was 95 years old and she went to college in the 40s and she wanted to major in chemistry. And the person in registration said, oh, women don't go into chemistry, you go into English. And
Yeah.
now scientists and doctors and,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. And we have professors teaching sports classes in universities now. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
My final question for you, and we've kind of talked about it, you know, the women nowadays walking into a gym and kind of maybe you don't understand where it's come from, but can you talk about the growth and the momentum that women's sports does have nowadays? It seems, whether you're watching ESPN or watching some kind of stream channel, it seems that women's sports continues to grow in their visibility because of that opportunity of Title IX. But can you just talk about the growth and the momentum and kind of where it's headed, what you would like to still see be addressed in the future?
The thing that's really amazing is the quality of the play.
Mhm.
I was talking to my coach who I keep up with, and I was kind of bemoaning the fact that most high school teams could probably go beat our team. And she said, we were good for our time.
Mhm.
And you can even think about men's basketball, the same thing, my dad playing in the 40s. And so the quality of the play, the strength of women, I mean, just volleyball is phenomenal. You have 6'4" gals that are like digging all over the floor and women starting to dunk. And man, I watched Serena Williams and
Wow.
whew, she
Yeah.
was tough. And so I think just the beauty of the athletic play and also the opportunity of women in sport and in sport management. And I just read this morning that the first woman coaching an MLB affiliate
Mhm.
minor league team is the head coach now. And you
Right.
see women refereeing in the NFL, there's one or two, but just a lot of opportunities in work and in pay. And who knows where we're going to go from here.
Well, Jane, I want to thank you again for talking back and looking back at Title IX through the 50 years and what we have to look forward to. Thank you again for joining us and best of luck.
Thank you. And everybody go out and support your men and women teams.